Hello, and welcome to Tales for Life. In each episode of this podcast, we'll explore a folk or fairy tale from a different culture or region and discover the life lessons, values, and morals they offer that we can use today. Join me on the journey through the magical and meaningful world of folk and fairy tales. Welcome back, friends, and thanks for settling in with me for another episode of Tales for Life, the podcast that journeys through life, one tale at a time. I'm really glad you're here. Today's episode is titled, Use It Well, Call It Fortune, a reminder that what we carry with us matters far more than what we think we're missing. We've all had those moments when we look at someone else and think, well, no wonder they're doing so well. Maybe they're strikingly good-looking, or naturally brilliant, or built like an athlete, or blessed with some talent that seems to open doors without effort. And it's easy, in that comparison, to glance back at our own lives and feel like we somehow drew the short straw. But the truth is, those gifts we admire in others don't cancel out the ones we already have. Every one of us is carrying something valuable, something that, in the right situation and the right moment, can change everything. And yet, so often, the reason we feel stuck or adrift isn't because we lack gifts, but because we haven't recognized them. We overlook what comes naturally to us, dismiss what feels ordinary, and forget that the things we do with ease are often the very things that can move us forward. There's a deep joy in noticing what you already have, putting it to work, and watching it bear fruit. Even the simplest abilities, the ones we barely think about, can become the stepping stones to our success when we finally choose to use them. Which brings us to today's story. It's a tale from the Brothers Grimm about three young men who each received something, well, let's just say, unexpected. What happens next is a playful reminder that fortune isn't always about what you're given. It's about what you recognize, what you value, and what you choose to do with it. Let's dive into The Three Sons of Fortune. A father once called his three sons before him, and he gave to the first a cock, to the second a scythe, and to the third a cat. "I am already aged," said he, "my death is nigh, and I have wished to take thought for you before my end. Money I have not, and what I now give you seems of little worth, but all depends on your making a sensible use of it. Only seek out a country where such things are still unknown, and your fortune is made." After the father's death, the eldest went away with his cock, but wherever he came, the cock was already known. In the towns he saw him from a long distance, sitting upon the steeples and turning round with the wind. And in the villages he heard more than one crowing. No one would show any wonder at the creature, so that it did not look as if he would make his fortune by it. At last, however, it happened that he came to an island where the people knew nothing about cocks, and did not even understand how to divide their time. They certainly knew when it was morning or evening, but at night, if they did not sleep through it, not one of them knew how to find out the time. "Look," said he, "what a proud creature! It has a ruby-red crown upon its head, and wears spurs like a knight. It calls you 3 times during the night, at fixed hours, and when it calls for the last time, the sun soon rises. But if it crows by broad daylight, then take notice, for there will certainly be a change of weather." The people were well pleased. For a whole night they did not sleep, and listened with great delight as the cock at 2, 4, and 6 o'clock loudly and clearly proclaimed the time. They asked if the creature were for sale, and how much he wanted for it. "About as much gold as an ass can carry," answered he. "A ridiculously small price for such a precious creature," they cried unanimously, and willingly gave him what he asked. When he came home with his wealth, his brothers were astonished, and the second said, "Well, I will go forth and see whether I cannot get rid of my scythe as profitably." But it did not look as if he would, for laborers met him everywhere, and they had scythes upon their shoulders as well as he. At last, however, he chanced upon an island where the people knew nothing of scythes. When the corn was ripe there, they took cannon out to the fields and shot it down. Now, this was rather an uncertain affair. Many shot right over it. Others hit the ears instead of the stems and shot them away, whereby much was lost. And besides all this, it made a terrible noise. So the man set to work and mowed it down so quietly and quickly that the people opened their mouths with astonishment. They agreed to give him what he wanted for the scythe, and he received a horse laden with as much gold as it could carry. And now the third brother wanted to take his cat to the right man. He fared just like the others. So long as he stayed on the mainland, there was nothing to be done. Every place had cats, and there were so many of them that newborn kittens were generally drowned in the ponds. At last he sailed over to an island, and it luckily happened that no cats had ever yet been seen there, and that the mice had got the upper hand so much that they danced upon the tables and benches whether the master were at home or not. The people complained bitterly of the plague. The king himself in his palace did not know how to secure himself against them. Mice squeaked in every corner and gnawed whatever they could lay hold of with their teeth. But now the cat began her chase, and soon cleared a couple of rooms, and the people begged the king to buy the wonderful beast for the country. The king willingly gave what was asked, which was a mule laden with gold, and the third brother came home with the greatest treasure of all. The cat made herself merry with the mice in the royal palace, and killed so many that they could not be counted. At last she grew warm with the work and thirsty, so she stood still, lifted up her head, and cried, "Mew, mew." When they heard this strange cry, the king and all his people were frightened, and in their terror ran all at once out of the palace. Then the king took counsel what was best to be done. At last it was determined to send a herald to the cat and demand that she should leave the palace, or if not, she was to expect that force would be used against her. The counselors said, "Rather will we let ourselves be plagued with the mice, for to that misfortune we are accustomed, than give up our lives to such a monster as this." A noble youth, therefore, was sent to ask the cat whether she would peaceably quit the castle. But the cat, whose thirst had become still greater, merely answered, "Mew, mew." The youth understood her to say, "Most certainly not, most certainly not," and took this answer to the king. "Then," said the counselors, "she shall yield to force." Cannon were brought out, and the palace was soon in flames. When the fire reached the room where the cat was sitting, she sprang safely out of the window. But the besiegers did not leave off until the whole palace was shot down to the ground. You know, when you step back from this story, it really is a delightful mix of the odd and the insightful. Yes, it's quirky. Yes, the ending is downright ridiculous. But the lessons tucked inside it are as steady and timeless as anything we've talked about on this podcast. Folktales have a way of wrapping wisdom in the strangest packages, and this tale is no exception. One of the clearest lessons here is the importance of recognizing the gifts you already have. Just like the father handing his sons 3 ordinary objects, the point isn't that we should go wandering the world looking for places where our talents are unknown. The point is that even the most ordinary abilities have value. We don't need to reinvent ourselves or chase after skills we don't have, and we certainly don't need to convince people who don't need what we offer that they should. What we do need is to find the place, the context, the community, the moment, where what we naturally bring is welcomed and needed. And once we find that place, using our gifts well brings its own kind of fortune. Fortune can mean money, sure, but it can also mean joy, purpose, connection, or a sense of belonging. In the story, a rooster is worth all the gold a donkey can carry, and a scythe is worth all the gold a horse can carry. But the real treasure is how those gifts enrich the lives of the people who receive them. That's the part that matters. When you use what you have in the right place, you don't just make your own life fuller, you make the world around you a little more abundant too. But the tale also carries a warning. When we fail to recognize our gifts or refuse to use them, we can end up walking ourselves straight into misery. Just like those final islanders who couldn't see the value of the cat, we can overlook the very thing that would bring relief, comfort, or opportunity. And worse, we can make choices that leave us even worse off than before. And that's a road none of us needs to travel. So as you head into your week, I hope you take a moment to notice what you already carry. The skills, the strengths, the quirks, the instincts, and consider where they might be needed. Use them well, and you'll find your fortune, whatever that means for you. Thanks again for spending this time with me. I look forward to having you join me next time for another lesson and another story on the next episode of Tales for Life.